Good evening and welcome to the 25th British Firework Championships, once again being staged here in Plymouth, thanks to Plymouth City Council and the Event Services Association. And this really is a perfect location to stage this contest. Plymouth Hoe and the waterfront provide fantastic opportunities for the crowds to watch the spectacular displays which will be fired from the breakwater at Mountbatten in just a few minutes' time. Tens of thousands of people are here tonight, with others watching from boats and the surrounding coastline. And if you are watching here tonight in Plymouth, we want you to be as vocal as possible. Let the teams know out on the breakwater what you think of their displays. Volunteers from the RNLI are among the crowd tonight with programmes, and all the proceeds from those programmes will go to support the work of the RNLI. Now tonight, 3 teams will compete. They're Nemesis Pyrotechnics, Europla Displays and Phoenix Fireworks. 3 more teams will then compete tomorrow, and one of them will be crowned British Firework Champion of 2022. Now, if you're watching on our global live stream on YouTube, welcome to Plymouth. We want you to be involved tonight as well. Let us know where you're watching around the world and tell us what you think of the fireworks, and we'll make sure we give you a mention. Also tonight, we will tell you what the teams are doing to get their displays prepared. We will also meet the teams, and we will tell you everything you need to know about each of the displays. Once again this year, our expert guide is someone who knows all about these displays. He's a past winner himself. In fact, he's also a champion of champions, and he's chairman of the British Pyrotechnists Association. It is Andy Hubble. Welcome back to Plymouth, Andy.
Thank you very much, Justin.
We're not far away from the first launch tonight. How are things looking?
Everything is looking A-OK. Nemesis have set up their firing system. It's in the final stages, ready to go. And look, we're 5 minutes or so away from kicking off what is going to be a brilliant 2 nights.
Tell us a little bit about what's been going on behind the scenes today. How are things done to prepare for this moment?
So the team started setting up at 8 o'clock this morning. They've had some rain showers during the day. There was a threat of lightning at one point, which would have really caused a few problems because they would have had to suspend setup. But fortunately, that didn't transpire. But we are now fully set up out there. The teams were ready by late afternoon, and they've just been waiting really for the competition to come along.
We've had a look behind the scenes, lots of explosives there, lots of wiring, lots of computer controls. What last-minute checks will be done in these last 4 minutes or so before launch to make sure everything is okay?
So the computerized firing systems are able to communicate with each of the fireworks and make sure that they're there and present and that everything is talking to the computer. The teams will have already been around their firing sites, and they'll have made sure that everything is set up correctly and that there's nothing that's in the way. It's a very secure site. The great thing with Mountbatten Breakwater is that we can keep all of the pleasure craft away from the breakwater, and we can also keep people away from walking down there. So it's all in lockdown now, and they are basically getting ready. Nemesis are the company on the far left of the breakwater tonight. We always set the shows off so that it's the one that's most downwind that goes first, because it is quite tight out there. But yeah, I think we're in for 3 amazing shows.
And very briefly, just explain for us what we need to look out for in this first display from Nemesis tonight. What are the highlights that they're promising from their display?
Well, I spoke to Steve Cleaver from Nemesis earlier. He told me that they've got effects and colours that are usually left out of normal shows. 2 minutes into the show, low noise effects. It's very popular today for low noise displays. They've got a big red, white and blue selection, which is in support of the Jubilee, and we can talk about that later. There's a crossset section and a big noisy finale with lots of what we call time rain.
Okay, well, we're just a couple of minutes away from the launch of the first one tonight. Let's meet the first team, Nemesis.
Hi, I'm Steve from Nemesis Pyrotechnics. We're based in Cheshire. We've been here a few times, and we've put a show together tonight that we think is unique. And basically, we've got all sorts of effects we've not seen before. We've got a quiet section to basically, things are changing, people are looking for quieter shows, but the good old noise section is in there as well. and we're going to do our best tonight with about 450 kilos net explosive to try and win this show.
And Andy's still with me. So a low noise section, how much will that play a part in ongoing displays? How much are the industry thinking about low noise firework displays?
Where we've got venues that where there's hotels and wedding venues, then responsible fireworks industry are doing using low noise fireworks, so they're not having an impact on the neighbours, they're not upsetting horses or wildlife or pets at home. And Nemesis are going to be demonstrating to us what they can do, but also in their finale, I nearly forgot that they've got 200 shells going almost simultaneously, which is going to be really quite something in the sky.
And talk about the environmental aspect of this as well, because talking about the noise levels, what about the efforts to make sure that any debris from this, for instance, we've got such a protected area of water here in Plymouth, what efforts are done to ensure that that debris doesn't end up in the water?
Well, one of the big rules that we've had at Plymouth for a long time, but certainly in place at the moment, is no plastic parts, no whistle parts, no aerial shells that are made of plastic. There is an adjudicator and a technical assessor out there, and they will be looking for anything like that, and you could actually be deducted points if you were to do it. But we're about to go into the 10-second countdown for the first show.
So everything's on time?
Everything is going ahead.
Okay.
15 seconds now.
15 seconds to the first display. Stand by, everyone. Over to the breakwater now.
Perhaps there's a technical issue.
And we're just waiting for the first. 5. We get an indication. 4, 3, 2, 1. Here's Nemesis. What a stunning start to the British Firework Championships 2022 from Nemesis. Let's get an initial reaction from Andy. What did you think?
Well, Nemesis came second in 2017. You can clearly see they're trying to come first this year. They were some amazing sequences. You saw the brilliant white waterfalls that were going up in the sky. We had some lovely red, white and blue sequences throughout. Look at this brocade crown with a silver strobe there with some brocade tails. Absolutely beautiful, and bigger ones overhead, and certainly our audience loved the big shells.
We'll get some more thoughts from you in a moment, Andy. Also with us is the Lord Mayor of Plymouth, Sue Dan. Sue, welcome tonight. What did you think, first of all, of that display?
That was amazing. What a brilliant first firework exhibition to kick off the 25th anniversary of this British firework competition in Plymouth. Absolutely fantastic. I loved it. Fab.
What does it mean to Plymouth to host this every year and do it in such a spectacular way?
This puts Plymouth right on the stage. I mean, it does two things. For the last 25 years, Plymouth has become synonymous with fireworks and the competition. We have this amazing amphitheatre. You can watch it from the Hoe, from Jennycliff, from Mount Edgecombe. Thousands of residents and visitors come watch the most amazing firework display, totally free. And, of course, it brings money into the local economy because people come here, they spend money up on the Hoe, across the city, they stay in hotels, and it's worth millions to the city every year. It's fantastic.
We mustn't forget, as well as the entertainment and the financial contribution it makes to the city, there will be people, obviously, who will think about the environmental aspect. We talked about that with Andy earlier on. The City Council is always very environmentally conscious. How do you ensure that this event matches all your other obligations on the environment?
Well, we've done two things. We were the first city about 6 years ago to ban all single-use plastic on the fireworks. So none of the fireworks that goes up into the sky has got any plastic. We've got a national marine park out here. We have to make sure we look after the environment. But also from the event side, there's no single-use plastic on the event site. We've got reusable plastic cups, and we've been working on this for years, and I'm really proud that the city is a leading events manager in this sphere. Well done, Plymouth City Council.
Sue, we'll let you enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. The Lord Mayor of Plymouth, Sue Dan, thank you very much indeed.
Enjoy it, Plymouth.
Thank you very much. Now, Andy, let's go back through. We're seeing a rerun here of Nemesis. As far as you're concerned, did they meet all their expectations? You've been talking to them. Would they be happy with what happened?
Look at this red, white and blue sequence that we've got going here. One of the requirements was every team should do a red, white and blue, or rather, actually, a Jubilee sequence. So something recognising the Queen's Jubilee. Some of them have chosen red, white and blue, and as we'll hear, some of them have chosen something slightly different. But this is definitely their nod to that, and we can see there the beautiful blues, reds and silvers as they go on. I'll tell you another firework that I saw during the show was a beautiful sky blue coloured shell that turned into a gold glitter. That was very nice, very, very high up in the sky.
Levels going on with that display, weren't there? There were quite a few low-level ones we were just seeing on the replay here, low level, and then suddenly shot up again in the sky. How were they achieving the sort of multiple levels of display?
Well, we can see Roman candles firing off here, and they're firing off quite nicely and simultaneously there, which I'm sure Nemesis will be very happy with. And then we've got shells of different sizes, smaller sizes that burst lower down, and then the really big ones that burst higher up in the sky.
Now, let's look ahead. So while we enjoy looking back at Nemesis getting us underway tonight, let's talk a bit about Europla. I think this is their first time in this competition, isn't it? Tell us a bit more about them.
So Europla displays, they were set up in 2017. It is their first time in the competition. I spoke with Simon Harding earlier on this evening. They have got a very nice show lined out for us. One of the things Simon pointed out is that they feel that they've got less material out there. They've got less tubes. But in his case, he says that less is more, and that really it's the quality of the product that we're going to see and be spoiled with, I imagine, that, you know, it's almost 2 for 1. We're going to see a red, white and blue Jubilee section, red and white transitioning to blue and then white and then red, and then some fireworks that have been made especially for the competition, ultra-fast fireworks which are going to go, obviously very quickly, very bright white, silvery colour, transitioning to a high luminosity blue, which is a very vivid blue, essentially. He's also got some blue waterfalls in here, which is a very rare and unusual effect. They've come from China. It's one of the products that they import. I'm looking forward to seeing those. He says they're new and a bit different. And also some Europa horsetail salutes. So we're going to see the big trailing patterns and then bangs. They'll conclude with bangs. And he's got a big color-changing sequence with blue to orange and then lemon and then pink in a set of Z fashion. So it goes backwards and forwards like a searchlight in the sky with matching shells overhead. And one other thing that I challenge everybody in our audience to look out for tonight, 2 fireworks that they've got. In a nod to Plymouth and recognising the maritime history here, they have jellyfish shells. And so we need to look out for jellyfish shapes up in the sky. And also popcorn crackle effects. And I think you'll be able to spot those. Look for the popcorn.
Okay, so we'll look at lots to look out for from them. Tell us what would be going on the breakwater at the moment, in between the displays. What's being done to ensure the next display can safely launch? What's happening now?
Well, we're around about 4 minutes or so, roughly, until that next display. And so the team that have just been gone on will make sure that their show, the Nemesis show, is safe and that there are no live fireworks out there that will cause problems for people. Sometimes we get fires out on the site. It's a very normal thing, and sometimes if you're sat in the audience, you can see the little orange glow, and then maybe a minute later it disappears as they put it out. So they'll be doing that. And at the same time, the company that's about to fire, Europa Displays in this case, they will be doing their final checks of their firing system. And of course, what they want to make sure is that their firing system was not affected by the previous show, that their cabling is all communicating correctly, so they'll do now a full check. Although they'll have been, Europa Displays are actually ready by 1:30 today, would you believe?
And I was going to ask you on that point, how nervous do you feel, as someone who's competed in this before, with less than 4 minutes to go now? Is this the most nerve-wracking moment, or is this the point where you think, well, there's nothing more we can do, and you've just got to sit back and relax? When do the nerves get really high?
Well, speaking personally, I can tell you that having done fireworks since I was 18, I still get nervous. I still pace up and down. Sometimes we're doing special effects for a TV show. I'll be wearing the carpet out in the control room by pacing up and down. But I think nerves are a healthy thing because it makes you check everything through in your head and everything's... So although you can go in with confidence and the firing system's still going, I do think I can't wait to start.
Yeah, okay, well, we're not far away from the second display of the evening, but before that, let's meet the team behind Europa.
Hi, I'm Simon from Europa Eastern Imports. We're bringing you a show today, which is 350 kg NEC, so it's on the lower end limit, using products sourced from Spain and China. The reason we're on the lower limit is because we've got high quality products which burn longer, and it'll create a multi-layered display and hopefully be entirely different to the other ones. And we're just really happy to be here in Plymouth to show you our products.
So that's the team from Europa that we will be seeing in action in just a moment. Andy, you're in direct contact by radio with Launch Control. What are you hearing from them in the last few seconds?
Well, during that film, we heard that we were 1.5 minutes to fire, so it's approaching a minute. Everything is just waiting for that final countdown before we see the show.
And you talked a little bit earlier on about the last-minute safety checks, and that includes making sure there are no boats in the safety area and that sort of thing, because we've got lots of boats out on the water tonight. People are taking advantage of the view from on the water.
There are actually 5 vessels out there that are being used for patrolling. We've got the police out there as well. The harbour master does an amazing job in helping facilitate this this competition. But it is good. It's always great seeing those and making sure the safety goes very clearly. But we're about to enter the final countdown into the final 10 seconds any moment now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is Europa.
Huge cheers here in Plymouth for Europla. Don't forget, if you're watching our global stream around the world on YouTube, let us know what you think. Tell us where you're watching as well. Let's get the thoughts of Andy Hubble. So much to talk about there, Andy. What are your initial thoughts on it?
Well, I can tell you that the Lord Mayor just said to me, we're being spoiled. And I agree with her. There were some beautiful products there. The ones that really stood out, I think, for you and me, and the ones that got the very biggest cheer were undoubtedly the Spanish products, particularly those big multicolored bursts that you really feel on your chest. And there were so many different colors in them. But we saw so many different pieces of material. Did you tick all of the ones that I mentioned
We saw the jellyfish. We saw some heart shapes there, didn't we, at some stage? Almost like a falling leaf effect. What it struck me about it as well was the symmetry of it. It was beautiful in terms of its balance.
Clearly, Europla Displays a very experienced company. They've got experience within their work and their team. They may be quite young within the industry, but certainly the knowledge that they've got amongst them, they can definitely put on a good show. Here we see those ultra-fast mines that are changing to blue that were brought in especially for this competition. And there's some lovely silver strobe and blue as well. There's more of those ultra-fast right at the bottom. They were lovely, weren't they? Very bright.
You mentioned some of the Spanish effect on this display. Tell us a bit about the difference between fireworks from different countries. How does that impact on the type of firework we see?
So the majority of tonight's show that we've seen will have been Chinese fireworks. The Chinese make amazing fireworks these days. But if you want to go to the top drawer and you really want the very, very best in your show, then you're going to go elsewhere, particularly to European manufacturers, companies and countries such as Spain and Italy, and there are plenty of others. If I wanted the very best, then personally I would choose to buy my fireworks from Japan. But I rather think that it would be cheaper to import a container loaded with gold than it would be to bring in a container full of Japanese shells. So we've seen a mix. But the real standout stuff tonight was definitely the Spanish. But the Chinese, the quality of it, incredible as well.
Really stunning by Europla there. So how is that sort of effect achieved? Well, earlier today, Andy and I went down to Mountbatten Breakwater to see what sort of work goes into preparing each of the displays. Well, Andy, take us through what's happening here on the Breakwater this morning.
So the teams arrived at 8 a.m. this morning. They've each got a piece of the breakwater. It's 30 metres long, 7 metres deep, and they're setting up the display. And they started at 8. They'll probably be finished mid to late afternoon, something like that. They're putting the fireworks into the launch tubes at the moment and then connecting them into the computerized firing systems. And then the last thing that they do is they'll do a test of that firing system to make sure that all of the fireworks are communicating and that they can fire the show that they planned.
Now, we can see different size launch tubes here. Take us through the difference between the various launch tubes.
Okay, so teams can use up to 8-inch diameter shells. These tubes fire shells, which go up into the air a bit like a cannonball and then burst into the sky. They're the ones that we all like and all the favourites of everybody. The sizes that I can see here, we've got 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch tubes. This is an 8-inch shell. The very largest, feel the weight of that.
It's got quite a weight to it, actually, isn't it?
And
like a big onion.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens with this is this gets lowered down into the tube. At the top is the electric igniter that connects into the firing system, and that then connects to this little shell leader fuse, and that takes the fire and it goes around the outside of the shell to the bottom. This is loaded in and this is at the bottom of the tube, and this is a bag of gunpowder, and on cue the bag of gunpowder will be ignited, and that fires the shell up into the air to 1,000 feet, something like that. And all the time that it's going up, there's a little fuse, a timing fuse, that goes into the center of the shell, and it's got a firewall around it so the fire can't get out. It goes into it, and when it's at the peak of its flight, in the middle of this is another bag of gunpowder, and it ignites that, and all around are stars, and that gunpowder explodes the case, and we get the amazing effect that we see.
Now, Andy, one thing I have seen is a lot of tin foil being used. What's the significance of that?
So the tin foil keeps the sparks out of the tubes. The last thing that you want when you've got so many displays and so many fireworks on one breakwater is for one show to light the other show, because that could ruin your night. It could ruin the night of the show that is firing, so that it keeps the sparks out.
Loads of wiring going on. How does all this work? What's the configuration of all of this?
Basically, this will take up to 32 cues on this particular firing system. This firing system is one of the most used in the world. 32 cues, and they will have lots of these around the firing site, and they then all get connected together and go back to the master firing system, where the key is that they have to arm the system before they can fire it, and then eventually press the fire button.
Now, unfortunately, we've got a little bit of rain starting. What precautions do the teams need to take at this stage?
Well, the fireworks that they're putting out are here assuming there's going to be an absolute downpour. So all of the fireworks, they're either under foil or they're under plastic. Even if we get torrential conditions, and we've had terrible rain here in previous years, even if we get the worst, the fireworks will all be fine and the display will fire safely. These are really interesting, Justin. This is how we make patterns and letters. So if we want to put out, say, Justin in fireworks projecting out from the firing site, then just like a dot-to-dot picture with a J, we would fill in down here and some of the ones around here, and then this goes at an angle, but you can have heart patterns, you can have letters, and it's something really creative that people don't see in firework displays very often.
We've seen all sorts of shapes and sizes of fireworks. What are the ones here in these tubes?
These are Roman candles. They don't have colourful labels on like you would find in the shop, because these are professional use only, but these are Roman candles, and essentially it's lots of shots in the tube that will, there's a fuse that goes down the inside, and they get projected out one by one, maybe 3 seconds apart, 4 seconds apart.
An impressive sight, Andy. Hive of activity going on with all the preparations. What makes this such a good launch site?
We are using 110 metres of breakwater and finding somewhere that's got 110 metres of distance for people to be able to safely spread out. There's not many places in the UK, but equally we've got the safety distance across to the Citadel. It's 400 metres away. They look at it straight on, and the judges viewing platform over there directly opposite. I mean, it really does have everything set up for it. And I think the thing that I particularly like is just that you can 360 degrees you can watch these firework displays from.
Well, that 8-inch firework you saw me holding earlier there is the big firework that will be launched next as part of Phoenix's display. They're the final team tonight. Andy, what else can we expect from Phoenix this evening?
I spoke to Mark Frill from Phoenix earlier on. They've got an 8-inch shell of shells from Marti, a Spanish company that is going to be featuring their finale, a high-intensity show. He described it as more of a traditional fireworks display, red, white and blue sequence for the Jubilee, about 4 minutes in. Lots of falling leaves and some low noise sequences, as well as with a big opening and a big gold and noise section at the end.
They did quite well last year here, didn't they? So they've got a lot to follow up from last year to try and improve on that further still.
Yeah, they did really well last year. They won in 2009, so they're very real experts. They know how to do that. They've been here so many times.
OK, let's find out a little bit more about the third and final team tonight, Phoenix.
I'm Mike from Phoenix Fireworks. I've got a team of 15 blokes behind me. They're currently setting out over half a tonne's worth of explosives. Tonight's display is a high horsepower big shell show. So we've got lots of special products in there, some of it Spanish, which will hopefully give us the win.
So that's Phoenix, who will be our third and final team tonight. How far are we away, do you think, Andy? What are you hearing from launch control?
Well, by my reckoning, I think we're probably around 4 minutes away from their show. They'll again be doing the final checks. We've had a very smooth run. Sometimes we have technical problems, don't we, with firing systems. Sometimes we might get a fire that needs extinguishing on the breakwater. But so far, everything's been running very, very smoothly. So we expect to see the fireworks in just a few minutes.
One thing that struck me with the display we saw a moment ago from Europa was how almost three-dimensional it was. It almost came towards us out of the sky. How is that effect achieved?
It's very much in the designer's head. Fireworks display designers are a very special breed, I think. And they can picture the display and how it's going to look in their head and use complementary. We saw some of those lovely blue Chinese waterfall effects that were complemented with other blue effects. So the designer will have known this will work with that, and they'll put them all together and assemble that 3D look. But yeah, I think they did really, really well. That was a very well developed display. And when we said the less is more, it worked.
And in terms of the judges, because of course all this will be judged and is being judged as we go along, what are they looking for? What sort of technical aspects of the display will they be judging and marking on?
We have two different types of judge here. We have technical judges who are professionals, and they know about fireworks, so they'll be assessing the overall design, the technical aspects, whether everything worked, the timing, and the overall impression of the display. And then we have lay judges who are selected dignitaries from the local community, and also there are some local people that have been selected by different ways, and they will be assessing a different thing, the colour, the variety of the effects, and also the overall wow factor. We've got about a minute and a half now to go to that.
And timing is crucial because there's quite a strict time limit on the actual displays, isn't it? It's got to be 10 minutes.
It has to be 10 minutes, and you might have noticed that each display is starting with a red shell up in the sky, then an amber, and then a green. And the timing for that 10 minutes starts from the time that the green shell goes off until the very last burst that happens in the display. 1 minute, I'm being told.
Okay, 1 minute to Phoenix Fireworks display. And on the subject of rules and regulations, we discovered this morning as well, there's a rule on how much gunpowder effectively can be used. There's an upper limit on that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, the teams need to have between 400 and 550 kilos of powder. Now, that's actual explosive powder. If you think of a rocket has got a nose cone, a body, and it's got a stick. But inside that is the explosive powder. So we're not considering the weight of the wooden stick or the nose cone or body. It's just the actual explosive powder that goes inside there. If you want to win, perhaps some of the teams will think that they need to go right to the top with 550. But we're about to go into the final countdown now, and it's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Phoenix Fireworks. That was extraordinary, and Andy Hubble is with me to assess what he thought of that. There were some stomach-punching fireworks there, the sound from some of those and the power. What did you make of it?
The noise from some of those fireworks, it was so loud, I'm sure they would have heard it 10 miles down the road in Looe, in Cornwall. It was absolutely phenomenal. But we did see some really very special. I love the red, white, and blue sequences that we saw from Phoenix there. They had some lovely, a very unique red, white, and blue falling leaf sequence, which was the very gentle stars that came down. But if you look here, we're really seeing a variety of different effects. They were spread out throughout the display, but I think one of the things that you and I were talking about, the colour blue, just the colour blue.
There were a couple of sequences where the sky was just filled with blue, and that's what struck me about this display. It was a sky-filling display, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there we go. There's some incredible blue there with a more of a brocade effect down below, a kind of twinkling effect. A sort of strobe willow, and there we can see a kind of coconut tree where you've got the branches of the coconut tree in silver in the center, and then you've got the blue stars all around. Really, really very, very nice fireworks. And I think we also saw some water effects where we were having things fired out towards the water in that display. But the other one I loved, and that we spoke about, was the beautiful, you called them flowers, didn't you?
They look like, to me, they look like flowers with a middle and then the petals coming out from around the edges.
So we would call that a farfallus shell, a butterfly shell as well. They have a colourful centre, and then they do have those little spinners. And I noticed that Phoenix, in their display, they had silver spinners going backwards and forwards as well, down below. So multi-layered effect.
We talked about the almost stomach-punching thuds from some of those fireworks.
Which we can see right now. Look at that.
Yeah, that was a really explosive moment.
That was the first one, but we had a really big one at the end, where the shell that you saw.
But there were lots of traditional firework noises within that display, some of the screaming noises that we associate with traditional firework displays as well. What will judges make of that? How important is that to a display, to get the balance of traditional firework noise within the display?
Well, one of the things that they'll be judging is the variety of the effects, and certainly we saw those. I mean, on the noise level, then we heard two different types of whistle going at the same time, a howl and also more of a shrill whistle. And that was very, very nice. And I think the judges will have noticed that as well.
So in terms of how Phoenix will feel about that display, having talked to them today and heard what their plans are, now you've seen it executed, how will Phoenix feel about that, do you think?
I think Mark and his team will be very, very happy about that. They are very experienced. Look at the colours in those, the lemon, the pink, and the blue there. I think they'll be very happy with the display. They put a lot of effort into it and a lot of very nice materials. But all of the shows have had really nice materials in them. So it is a difficult decision.
And in terms of moving it forward every year, because Phoenix have done this before, this competition, came third, I think, last year. How do you improve on that? How do you take the previous display and think, right, how are we going to make that different? How are we going to improve on it? And how do you incorporate sort of new techniques, new technology that must be coming into fireworks all the time?
You'd think that it was all just going to stay the same, and it's going to be very static. When you consider the difficult time that the UK firework display industry has had over the past year, it's really amazing to see some of the new effects that we've seen here and the new combinations. In the Europa displays, we saw falling leaf shells that had the red, the amber, and the green that were just really very special. They were nice to see. But equally, here's that red, white, and blue falling leaf sequence that we loved, and the silver spinners. It's just creativity, but there are new products coming on in the market all the time. The Chinese are always developing.
The falling leaf effect, where the light from the fireworks hovered in the sky for a very long time, seemed to be a theme through a couple of the displays tonight. Is that a relatively new concept for fireworks?
It's not a new concept for fireworks. The falling leaf effect is actually quite an easy one for the factories to make out in China. But no, it's not new, but it's how you use your falling leaves, isn't it? So we did see the you know, different colour combinations. And I have to say that Phoenix's use in their Jubilee section of red, white and blue falling leaf was great. It made you and I both go, they're lovely.
The thing is now, looking at all three of them and reflecting back on all three, the judges, of course, have got to decide, and then we've got 3 more tomorrow, which we'll talk about in a moment. But standing here tonight as an expert, Andy, as someone who's been in the shoes of a prospective champion, how would you judge the winning one tonight? Was there one that really stood out for you?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot again, Justin. You do this every time. I think that each show had real elements in it, but I mean, Europa had some lovely material that caught our eye in it. Phoenix really made the crowd cheer. So I think somewhere in between those two, possibly. But the Nemesis show was awesome as well. I mean, they had the beautiful candles, the timing in their display. It's not an easy decision.
It is going to be really, really hard to decide between all three, because all three brought something fantastic. Let's look ahead to tomorrow and talk about the teams that are coming up tomorrow. What do we have to look forward to from the 3 teams tomorrow?
Well, we have got some really very special shows. I've had the fortunate to see a little bit of a teaser of what they're going to be doing. Fully Fused, they came second last year, I believe it was. So they're very experienced, and they're back again. Sonic Fireworks, I know will be very keen to try and win the competition. So again, and a company that, like all the others, are putting a lot of effort into it. Wizard Fireworks as well, company that's been around for a long time, very experienced, a lot of different material that they use. So I think we've got another great night of entertainment tomorrow as well.
Can't wait. They're going to have to work really hard to match the brilliant standard of the 3 teams tonight. Andy, thank you, as always, for taking us through it. We'll speak to you again tomorrow, because you'll be here to guide us through tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to everyone here on Plymouth Hoe. From all of us, we'll be back tomorrow again from 9 with live coverage on YouTube of tomorrow's displays. But from all of us here tonight, good night.